What is up, guys, and welcome to the very first episode of F1 24 Driver Career Mode. Yes, it's the day you've all been waiting for. Well, and me, to be honest. I'm so excited for this video, and I hope you guys are too. This is the start of a brand new era on this channel, as we are going to be turning the vast majority of my focus over to F1 24 for the time being. Smash that like button if you're excited. Say hello in the chat if you're here at the premiere. Thank you very much for coming. And if you're not, well, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that you're here with me now and watching this video. The first thing we need to talk about is how on earth did this come about? Basically, I finally decided that I wanted to do something big for this summer, and so I thought, you know what? I'm tired of well, I guess you could almost say procrastinating, so I finally went out and I've got myself a copy of F1 24. I bought it a couple of weeks ago along with my brand new Thrustmaster wheel. And you may have just noticed in the background, I'm using all assists turned off except racing line in corners only. That's the only assist that I'm using. I say it in monoposto and I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm just learning straight out with all assists turned off. And as I've only been playing the game for a couple of weeks, I'm certainly not the best. However, I'm still going to go through with this, so just bear with me. It will probably take me a while to get used to it. To be honest, I think I'm doing okay. The main thing is just still locking up because I'm still trying to get used to mastering trail braking. And in this episode, that is particularly difficult. As we go through the video, you'll see just various instances where you can tell that I'm still new to the game. But hopefully, with practice and over time, that will get ironed out. That also means that the AI difficulty is a little bit lower than I would like to have been to start off this series. I think I'm usually going to be running around 85 for these videos for the time being. Although, obviously, as I progress through the game and get better and get more confident, that will increase over time as well. Now, the all-important part of this episode, the team select. You may have noticed I decided I didn't want to be part of any academy, just because I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to basically move between any teams, if there's any secret meetings, be able to, you know, work with any team, etc. And it just basically keeps my options more open and maybe make the career mode more interesting.
Okay.
With that in mind, I chose V-Carb, the Racing Bulls, because it's the best looking car on this year's grid, and also, you know, they're not too competitive, they're kind of a solid midfield choice, they're not the slowest car either, so I thought, you know, that's kind of a nice balance. In terms of my teammate, though, well, that's the next interesting part. Obviously, I get to choose whether I want to replace Yuki Tsunoda or Daniel Ricciardo. And in the end, I've decided I'm going to partner Yuki Tsunoda this season. Because obviously, in real life, the young Japanese talent, there's already rumours of him potentially moving up to Red Bull in the near future. And Ricciardo, as much as everyone loves him, he's just not been as good as Yuki in real life. So that's why I've decided to give him the boot. And I will take his seat for 2024.
Finally, let's do this for real. Sorry it took so long. You know what these legal types are like? Yes, sir. No, sir. Here's 80 pages of needless jargon, sir. Anyway, believe it or not, this is my excited face. Come on. Let me show you what we've got. So, all the usual stuff. Merchandising, likeness, blah, blah, blah. But the really juicy stuff is their expectation of you. They need you to challenge yourself all season, be the best you can be, dominate your teammate, become a legend. All that jazz. Now, it's over to you.
We've now arrived at the time where I have to sign a one-season contract. This is obviously pretty standard. My current driver rating is 65. I was recommended to get to 69. To be honest, I wasn't really sure what my ability is, how it might kind of work. So rather than try and exceed that, I just thought I'll try and meet what they're asking me to do. I was a bit of a scaredy cat with this one, to be honest. So I've decided I'm going to go for a 69 recommended rating. And sure enough, the career mode is all set up and we are all ready to go. You now join me in the driver hub, where I'm just mainly kind of exploring the new options that career mode has in this game. Obviously, one of the main focuses of F1 24 is the brand new emphasis on driver career mode, with the whole contract scheme and the whole introduction of specialists and all that kind of jazz. So in the background, you'll basically just see me, looking at the emails, trying to explore specialists, signing up for a specialist. I think basically, obviously with the specialist, you have to complete a certain goal in order to get, I think, what they call recognition, I think is how it works. And the one I chose is fairly simple, really, for this opening race, and that's simply to just complete the race weekend, because hopefully, providing I have a mechanical failure, which are going to be enabled, by the way, I should be able to complete the race weekend, so I've got no issues that I should be able to complete that. Now, here we have the R&D chart, but more importantly, the calendar. You can see the performance chart. That's pretty much reflective of real life. Only thing I'd say now is Mercedes possibly need a slight buff. Maybe Ferrari need a slight nerf after all the upgrades. But obviously, we want to talk about the calendar. We're here for the opening race, obviously at Bahrain. You may have seen me set it up earlier on when we were starting the career mode. 16 races, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Australia, then Imola, round 4, opens the European calendar, followed by races at Spain, Austria, my home race at Silverstone, then the Belgian Grand Prix. I've thrown the Dutch Grand Prix in as well for season 1, and then Monza. Then we're off to Singapore, and then we've kind of got the end of the season in Mexico, Brazil, Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. As we have now arrived at the race weekend for the Bahrain Grand Prix in Season 1. So normally I wouldn't show anything from practice. I would basically just cut straight to qualifying. And obviously today's episode is probably going to be a lot longer than all the others, because we've had to do all the extra stuff around setting up the actual career mode. So I'm hoping the videos will usually be no longer than 20 minutes. I know today's is going to be much closer to 30 minutes. I'm sorry for that. But yeah, it's all good content, I hope. I hope you guys are, if you're still here and you're still enjoying it, then, thank you so much. Anyway, welcome to our new office. This is where we're going to be spending the rest of our season, at the headquarters of Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. And we're about to go into the race weekend. So, to be honest, there's not much else to say, really, other than let's just go straight to practice and see some actual cars moving on a racetrack.
A new day has dawned, a new season has begun. 2024 has started, and the competition is desperate to take the fight to Red Bull, and it starts here in free practice. So much unknown before we get underway. So what will be going through the drivers' minds as they get ready for the new season?
The faster you can work around the circuit conditions and get the car tailored to your liking, the better, and then you can just focus on the job in hand in terms of lap times. But first of all, you've got to get the car feeling right.
Okay, mate, this is the first running of the real car. Now, I know it's a big ask, but let's get some useful data and get you used to how the practice sessions work. Let's start the season as we mean to go on, eh? I know we can have a great year, so let's go.
Thanks for the introduction, Mark. Welcome to the garage of the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. This is where we'll be spending a lot of our time at race weekends. Or I would like to think that we'd be spending more time out on the track. Anyway, I don't really need to do a garage tutorial. I've done a few kind of practice races and race weekends already, obviously in preparation for this. I'm not coming in completely cold. In terms of setup for this weekend, I'm going to just use a preset 4 for now. I'm mainly going to be using default setups for Season 1 until I can kind of learn more about setups. Just one thing at a time. First of all, I'm teaching myself to keep the car pointed in the right direction. But then, when I've got used to that, then I'll start thinking about setups and, differential and other things like that. So for now, I'm just going to go with what it's advising me. It actually advised me a preset 3. To be honest, I'm going to trial a preset 4 in practice, increase top speed, because Bahrain has a lot of straights. and we'll see how that feels and whether I need to lower that to a preset 3 for the race. But here we are, these are the very first laps of my Formula 1 career, and for a great start, I've locked up at turn 1. To be honest, I found that there's extremely low grip at practice 1 in Bahrain, just always something about this circuit. It's not a great one to drive. In the future, I'll probably just do FP2 or FP3. There's not much else to show about practice really. I just did, a few laps track acclimatization. I simulated the other practice sessions. So to be honest, I think we should just jump straight into qualifying. I just wanted to show you that because that was obviously the first time we'd ever, driven our Formula 1 car. But now let's get down to the real business.
Under the bright lights of Bahrain, it is time for qualifying. Grid position up in the air. Who is going to seize the moment?
Here we are then, doing our first lap in Q1. Originally I was thinking of doing a short qualifying session to save time, but then I thought, nah, let's just do a full qualifying set. I decided actually that after practice I was going to lower to a preset 3 setup for the remainder of the race weekend. I just thought that it might give me a little bit more control over the car, particularly through the low speed corners. We're talking maybe turn 1, turn 8, turn 10. They're the corners that I find the trickiest. But as we cross the line for a 1:32.591, we're P10 at the moment. We're just under 4/10 of a second behind the Kick Sauber of Valtteri Bottas, and by the time we get back to the garage, we've been pushed all the way to P20, and we're like nearly 3/10 off the next slowest car, which is the Alpine of Esteban Ocon. So we are staring at Q1 knockout and, well, to be honest, embarrassment in our first ever Formula 1 race. So I'm going to go out again on a brand new set of soft tyres, and let's see if we can try and save ourselves. It's an absolute lap of the gods here. 2 seconds up, purple sector 1, across the line. Where are we going to end up? P2! P2 in qualifying. We've gone from P20 all the way up to P2. I decided it was time to take the sandbags off there at the end of qualifying. And we've absolutely shot up the order, put a second on my teammate. Thank you very much. And we've gone from staring at elimination and a P20 start all the way up to one of the fastest runners in Q1. And there you go. Wow. Into Q2 then, across the line. I did my first set. Unfortunately, I decided I was going to save a new set of soft tyres for the race and in case we somehow managed to get into Q3. So I decided against using the new set. So the original lap time that I did was on the set of soft tyres that I did in Q1. And this is another used set that I also used in Q1, and unfortunately this second lap is not as good as the first one. You can see the delta, I'm not improving, and we've been pushed down to P11, just ahead of my teammate. So as we cross the line, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting into Q3 on our Formula 1 debut, but there you go, P11. I tell you what though, that's good. I'll take that. I think that's about as much as we could have got from our first qualifying session. When you consider we have the best car, and I was just under a 10th quicker than my teammate, I think that's about bang on. We've got exactly what we should have done out of that qualifying session. So Pierre Gasly though, I tell you what, high flying in the Alpine in P5, but other than that, there's no real surprise eliminations there. So that's just about all there is to say for qualifying. Let's just, double check the pre-race emails and then let's go to the grid for our first race.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. We go racing today around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Hamilton, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Perez, Gasly, Walker, Tsunoda, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Albon, Magnussen, Joe, Bottas and Logan Sargent. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes, delighted to say that we're joined today by Anthony Davidson. Well, welcome back. After all the testing, the build-up, it all now comes down to this.
Everyone's G'd up for this one. They've done the testing, like you say. The drivers will be revving inside, heart rates going, trying to burst out their chest at this moment. With that anticipation, who's got the speed? We're going to learn now, once and for all.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Welcome to the grid for the Bahrain Grand Prix. This is a strategy that's been presented before me, a one-stop from soft to hard. At this point, I'm just going to roll with it. I think, to be honest, I don't really know any better at this stage. In terms of fuel, again, I'm going to fuel a little bit over, but not massively, just 0.6 or 0.7 of a lap. I don't think fuel conservation should be an issue based on the runs that I've done, not only in practice, but also based on other practice races that I've done. The cars seem to be really economical with fuel this year. So, you know, if we get a couple of fuel efficiency upgrades on, then, you know, I can't see any reason why we won't be underfueling, particularly in wet races or, you know, races such as, you know, Monaco or Singapore in this season, you know, narrow street circuits. Anyway, we're now onto the formation lap, and you can see that was rather embarrassing as I completely forgot how to release anti-stall. So let's hope that doesn't happen for the proper start, as we're now getting ready to park our car up. Notice that Gasly and Perez are both on the medium compound of tyres, so there are some split strategies on the grid as we're now revving up to 5 red lights for a new era on this channel. Our Formula 1 career is underway. Lights out in Bahrain. It's not a bad start off the line, actually. It looks like my teammate Yuki Tsunoda is going to get the better of me, but that's the only position we're going to lose. As heading down towards turn 1, I'm going to try and be nice and cautious on the brakes. We know what the AI can be like in this game. All the way around the outside, there seems to be a little bit of space. Now we're going wheel to wheel with my teammate. I think it is, yeah. And then as we go up the hill through turn 3, getting on the battery, it looks like my tyres are a little bit cold, so Yuki might have the slight edges in terms of traction as we get towards turn 4, just trying to settle in line here. I am going to let my teammate go now, though, because he is slightly quicker and technically still the number 1 driver, so I don't think the team will be particularly happy if I was interfering with his race at the start of the season. So we're just going to let that settle down for a bit and just try and calm down. As it stands, I haven't actually lost any positions compared to where I started. Gasly's gone down 2 places, Tsunoda's gone up 2 places. We've kind of stayed exactly put. So now, moving on to the start of lap number 5, and you can see Max Verstappen in the slipstream on the race leader, Lando Norris. These two occupied the front row in qualifying. The Dutchman's going to go for the dive bomb down at the first corner. Norris can't do anything to prevent that. And unfortunately, the game is super realistic because once again, by the time they come through turn number 3, it is Max Verstappen who leads the Bahrain Grand Prix in 2024. Lando Norris doesn't look like he can come back at that. And by the time we cut back to me, we're on to lap number 6, and nothing has happened on this first stint. Genuinely, I've just been chilling in my teammates' DRS. There's been a little bit of battling up ahead between Hamilton and Perez, and that sort of distracted me at turn 4 there, which is obviously not a particularly great excuse. And I've also noticed the tyre wear is extremely high on the front left only. And I came to realise I think that's something to do with my driving style and the way I'm still locking up, as I can't really get used to trail braking just yet. I am trying. I'm saying I will get used to it at some point. To the end of lap number 6, and Hamilton's locked up at the final corner there. Going back to my onboard, I have to take a void in action. I'm very lucky that the 7-time champion didn't swerve back into me then. Unfortunately, that's also allowed Esteban Ocon to try and get a move on me. I think we've both got DRS. I'm going to have to try and use up the remainder of my battery then. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? It's obviously going to be me, even as I'm trying to get used to the new braking system that I have to adapt to in this game that's obviously so different from anything else that I've done before. And I do manage to defend against the play from the Alpine. You might have noticed there was a yellow flag, and that's for this reason, because that incident I think clearly distracted Gasly and caused him to spin at the final corner. That was just behind me, so that's why he lost a couple of places. And by the end of that lap, I'm going to box. The tyres, you can see, they're like 80% worn on the front left, and as we come into the pit lane, it's punctured. Completely punctured. I think it's because of all the locking up. See, looking at the others, the rears are less than 40% worn, so I definitely think it must be because of the constant locking I'm doing of the front left, particularly down into corners such as turn 10. is especially bad. Good stop from the pit crew though, 2.4 seconds, what we like to see on our debut. Going on to the hards, and hopefully we can get these to the end. We should be able to, we've still got 12 laps to go. I don't know if I mentioned it, you can probably tell by now we're doing 35% races. I did possibly want to do 50% races, but I realised I'll be able to get more videos out if I do 35%, so that's why. And also they'll be slightly shorter, which I guess is more viewer friendly. And now, as we get to the start of lap number 9, you can see other cars are in the pits, but not too many. Ocon comes out of the pits. It looks like he has managed to overcut me, actually. You might have noticed he did just overtake me as I was about to peel into the pit lane when I made my pit stop. But even so, that scared me because I thought that everyone literally had overcut me and had come out in P18. Turns out that is not the case. And now I'm in P14 at the end of lap number 10, a very nice sector 3. In fact, I thought I'd show you this because I actually went purple, which to my surprise, I did not expect to do that, as this is the race leader, Nico Hülkenberg, who hasn't made a pit stop yet. Yes, race leader, I did not think I'd be saying that. Hülkenberg, unfortunately, is now out of the Bahrain Grand Prix and he becomes the very first retirement of this career mode. You may also have seen his teammate Kevin Magnussen currently running in P2. I think both the Haas cars are trying to go for an alternate strategy. They clearly, trying to extend their stint for as long as possible. Lance Stroll is trying to go around the outside of turn 11. I'm going to defend that because I really want to try and keep this position. You can see I'm down into P13. Ocon's now 5.4 ahead of me. Magnussen comes into the pit, so I'm going to inherit P12. And unfortunately, the Aston Martin's just too quick for me on the straight now. And in fact, here comes Alexander Albon, although I'm going to try and make sure I can keep the position ahead of the Williams, certainly for the time being, by hanging round the outside of turn 1. That'll turn to the inside for turns 2 and 3. Then I will pick up some DRS off the Canadian driver as well, and I do show Alexander Albon the door there. So yeah, unfortunately, it does seem like the race pace, particularly on the hard compound, is not great. Also, I think probably because I'm still, even more lockups there. A bit of contact made. In fact, my tyre wear is probably going to be significantly higher than the other drivers, and again, that's probably going to be hindering some of my pace. So as we're now starting lap number 13, I have been pushed down into P14, which is a shame because obviously we started in P11. We definitely had the pace this weekend, and in fact, Gasly's not even going to wait for DRS. So in that case, I will. A nice bit of 300 IQ racecraft there from me. All right, I ran a little bit deep. Give me some credit. Anyway, I decided to brake early, get the DRS, and now see if I can re-overtake Pierre Gasly. Although, in fact, Zhou Guanyu in the Kick Sauber has decided to pull both our pants down. I'm going to go all the way around the outside. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. Now I've got some front wing damage. Deary me, in fact, you might hear Mark say that was a bit borderline, but I'm afraid, what did I do? Obviously, I didn't mean to drive into him. It was completely accidental. I didn't want to give myself damage. I did find, actually, particularly in the second half of the stint, Mark was talking to me in the corners and it was so annoying. Is there a way that I can get him to shut up? If anyone knows that, put it in the chat now. I've been given another objective, though, to charge my ERS to a certain level within 2 laps. Nice re-overtake there on Pierre Gasly. The Alpine driver got past the DRS. I then threw it down the inside, although a little bit of Tokyo drift there on the exit of the corner. I'm trying to give him as much of a headache as I possibly can, even though if it's only for P15, it's just for my pride more than anything else. Although unfortunately our squabbling has also allowed Kevin Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas to come onto the scene. Another wide moment for me there in the final corner. This might give these guys the slingshot all the way down the pit straight. This is not what we need, as Gasly is going to be the first driver to come past with DRS, then the Haas is going to get it. We're now riding on board with Valtteri Bottas. These guys might make it 3 wide. They've all come past me. I didn't have DRS and I've got barely any battery to spare, so unfortunately there wasn't much I could do. I was just a sitting duck on the straight. And now moving on to the end of lap number 16, and this is George Russell in the Mercedes, who's currently in P3. Although not for much longer, because Russell, unfortunately for the British driver, is going to become the second retirement of this opening race of the season. A mechanical failure for the man from Kings Lynn, and unfortunately he's pulling over to the side of the track. And his Grand Prix finishes prematurely. Such a shame for him. That would have been such a fantastic result for Mercedes. And to be honest, not much else happened in that race apart from this spin from Logan Sargent down at turn 1. He was actually catching me. so I'm glad that I'm not going to get the wooden spoon in my first race. It's just such a shame that the race pace hasn't been as good in the second half of the stint as it was, say, even in qualifying. You know, we definitely managed to get the most out of our car. I think it's probably still, you know, all the locking up, all the trail braking. However, we'll get to that later, because right now, Max Verstappen is coming around the final corner, and he's going to start 2024 as he means to go on. The Dutch driver sees the checkered flag first, and Max Verstappen wins in Bahrain, and he wins by a distance. He made that look easy. Since overtaking poleman Lando Norris on lap number 5, he's just led and dominated this race. I think he won by over sort of 5 or 6 seconds in the end. Lando does manage to hold on and get P2 though, so that's a very, very respectable result for the McLaren team. They've got to be happy with that. Meanwhile, for me, we're coming round to finish the first race of our career. Hopefully, there'll be many more which are going to be better than this. It's only going to be P17, and once again, the tyres are shot, but I've identified the problem. I think it's just the locking up. As I said, over time, that'll probably go. But I think something that I definitely want to invest in is tyre wear upgrades as soon as we can get them, because, you know, otherwise I'm definitely going to be struggling for a long time. 1 down, 15 to go. The only way from here is up.
Heading to the top step once again, Max Verstappen takes the win.
Well, you're always unsure of the competition and what your opponents have been able to do in the off-season, but they've come here today, they've delivered the performance that you dream about, and wow, did they make that car sing today. Really impressive stuff.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who's joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Full complement of points for Max Verstappen, win plus the fastest lap. Norris and Leclerc completing the podium. Great weekend for McLaren overall with Piastri in P4. Then comes Sainz, Alonso, Perez. My teammate does a great job to get 4 points in P8, so Tsunoda. Then Lewis Hamilton and Esteban Ocon completing the points. Russell and Hulkenberg the only DNFs. Yeah, unfortunately it wasn't our day today. I also want to say that I think they've had a few more patch updates which have changed the handling, and since then I felt like it's gone worse. I bought this game about a month after release, and since then there have been a few patch updates which I personally have found the braking so much more difficult. It's just like they've made it unnecessarily difficult. When it first came out it was fine, and I did some races with the AI on about 90 and I felt really quick, but oh well, if it ain't broken, don't fix it if you ask me. I just wish they'd stop bringing out these silly patch updates and keep meddling with the handling, because it was fine after the first patch update they did post-launch. Rant over. Anyway, that's the end of the first episode of F1 24 Driver Career Mode. I know it's been a bit long. I'm hoping all the other episodes will be a fair bit shorter than this. And I know it wasn't the best race, but hopefully with time, as I get better at the game and more used to it, our performances will definitely improve and I can increase the AI as well. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and join my Discord. Both links are in the description below. And I'll see you guys all next time. Goodbye.